That place where my property is, it is a slightly outside town. It's like a semi-urban outside town. So as I'm going to invest, the world is one. People still need some basic things. The road is one of the things. When people are coming to the place, they don't know that I need a 4x4. A point in case, in my property, it has become famous. I've been harassing some of the officials in the province here about the road because people get stuck. Actually, I've got a 4x4 dedicated to get a call. I'm stuck. I'm coming to your property. My management team, they have to go there, tow the guy, and come to the property. So I'm told here that there is a MSc for road infrastructure, and I must ask for or something like that. I don't know what. Please, I'm asking for one so that I don't have to come and tow the cars that are coming to my property because people are finding it interesting. They would like to come there. So please, if they can be deployed Monday morning, I would appreciate that. The second part is the telecommunication. You know, people nowadays, even if when they go to the bush, they still want to be in touch with their cell phone. They want connectivity. I mean, these are some of the things when, before I invest, I have not thought about. I realized that there was no connectivity. I had to invest quite a huge amount of money in telecommunication to make sure that there's connectivity. And imagine if that's one aspect, people come, they can't connect. They're not going to come. The issue of water, power, and so forth. So those are just some of the things that whenever the investors are coming for, you want to create to make sure the infrastructure are all in there. As I speak, this property that I did, it went on by almost 40% of the capital investment because of the infrastructure that I had to create alone on that environment. The third point, this one, I must say that it was a feedback that I received. I went to Dubai for Arabian market tourism, just to promote the property and to get what's happening. And as I was roaming around, connecting with people, they said, from South Africa, you're from a beautiful country, you've got everything there. And in the conversation, they said, but there's a problem. Will you hire security from the airport? I was like, why? Because it's a dangerous place. One lady, she told me that she's from Netherlands, she's in another country, I forgot the country. She said, I used to bring a lot of tourists to South Africa. I've stopped now because they are scared to come there. So unless you can guarantee me the safety, we can talk. And that wasn't just from one person. So I took it as a takeaway from another country, the perception to say crime is a problem. That as an investor, you will say, I can't do that. And also, I can't come to the tourism. It affects our tourism. So what I'm appealing, I know there's a different structures, they're probably not policing here, but can they be a focus on proactive, preventative policing? We do hear horror stories, so I will say powers that be here is a factor that needs to be looked at. Sometimes maybe one can say there's an exaggeration, but perceptions are more powerful than reality. So I would say if you want tourism to grow and to be strong, which I would say South Africa as it is, I believe it is one of the best countries for tourism because you've got all aspects. You're talking about the safari, the beach, town life.
You are going, yes. I need you to wrap up because I can see on my far right somebody is.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Just the one last part that I want to just check in is the issue of the policy certainty and continuity. We know we've got all change of government all the time. So that will just be the last thing that I must say. If I'm going to be an investor, we will need to know that one administrator to the other, there will be continuity in the policies and the regulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. I know that Mr. Matibe wants to just highlight one small point on the regulatory environment, right? just a small short point, because I want to go back to Jerry. There's a question that is burning for him.
Thank you. Thank you very much, moderator. Just to indicate that in both the biodiversity and tourism sector, we've actually realized after the many experiences, either going back to 2008, that there are areas where we need to improve, and that's why we have made a lot of interventions. So for instance, on the 4th of October this year, tourism put out the Gazette that is focused on ensuring we accelerate tourism. Similarly, from my department, we have got a white paper policy which I literally presented to Cabinet, and it was approved on the 29th of March last year, and ultimately gazetted on the 14th of June for implementation. So we have now put enough policy and instruments to address the issues of regulations. And lastly, Chair, the good thing is that if we are to cross-pollinate the work that we do with all other sectors, we will know that under DTIC, under our minister, they address the issues of incentives for investors. And similarly, if we go to the Department of Police, they address the issues that my colleague is raising and a whole lot of other things. So we are geared to accelerate and make it easier through Vulindlela program to make sure that we address all the issues that are raised.
If somebody has a roving mic, I just want one question from the floor. But as we take that question from the floor, I need to get back to Jerry in Johannesburg. Jerry, can you still hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, moderator.
Okay, so you've had the discussion now. First and foremost is that the investors are looking for us to simplify the process for them when they're going to invest here, because they don't know our processes. And quite frankly, they're not interested. They just want to invest and have whatever they want to have and put their money there and get all the support. So there is feedback that says there are some challenges. And I know we've spoken about there's a MEC for infrastructure and roads. And before we leave here, we're probably going to get some help to say, how do we help you to actually unlock your property so that it becomes this tourism mecca? But we also had an issue about government is doing a lot, but people don't know about what the government is doing. There's a whole lot of incentives, there's a whole lot of things that is good things that the government is doing, but that information never reaches the investors so that they can feel that it is easy to actually work with this particular destination. Now, Jerry, coming back to you, because we're going to come back to this point. In fact, the point about the doing away with the silo sector mentality, integrating, we're going to deal with that point before we close. But from a private sector point of view, Jerry, how can what we had everybody talk about in the morning, the Honorable Premier, she's here with us now. Thank you, Premier, for joining us, and we greet you. And the team, we spoke about Limpopo being the gateway to Africa. I spoke about the numbers coming from Zimbabwe, coming from Mozambique. So we know that within the tourist numbers that we receive, Africa is huge, but our neighbors are even bigger for us. So how does Limpopo actually better leverage this strategic proximity to SADC countries? You talking to us from a private sector point of view, from the industry point of view, how do we better harness this position?
Thank you, Nomasonto, and greetings to the Premier. Sorry I couldn't be with you physically today. I think I'm going to take a step back, Nomasonto, and just respond to one or two things, because particularly in the Dematile, said some things which are very, very critical that I think provides us with a launching pad to some of the things that I'm going to say. The starting point is the one around the conferencing and the pressing that he was referring to. I think that's a great plan, and I think one needs that investment in the province. But what I want to say to Ntate Mathibe and to the Premier and everyone present is that we don't have to wait for that before Limpopo becomes sexy again. I think Limpopo as a province has got, you highlighted the issues of heritage, the issues of nature-based tourism, adventure tourism, the Mapungubia story in the Kruger. But you also mentioned the fact that we are missing convert literally almost immediately. Because we get locked into a paradigm, and that paradigm says that we need to have a bricks and mortar convention center that costs 2 billion rands before we can have a MICE meeting. And I don't think that's true. I mean, we have run MICE meetings in the middle of Big Five game zones for 400-500 people at a time by using pop-up hotel facilities. So what I'm saying is that if we think differently about these things, we can start working on that. By the time that Matibe's idea then begins to see bear fruit, Limpopo is now positioned as a destination for the MICE market. So all I'm saying is that I'm challenging us that let's start there. And taking it a little bit further, to say that the issue of tourism and the various value chains, I think that's an important one that we also need to just touch on a little bit and say that tourism is not a sector, it's a medium. It's a medium for creating jobs, for creating employment, for actually spreading the wealth into the poorest, furthest areas in our country. It's the only tool, probably outside of agriculture, that can do that. So I think we just need to think a little bit differently about the things that we want to do. Now, back onto what you are saying, and I'll touch also on the issue of removing barriers between the private sector and government. And here I'm wearing my TBCSA hat for 2 seconds, if I may. The role that Operation Vulindlela has played, as that Mathibe was saying earlier on, is absolutely critical. I mean, we have achieved so many great milestones, and I think we do need collectively to get closer to that entity because it does work, and I think it has done some great work. I mean, we've seen the visa issues that have been resolved for us over time. Now, back to the SADC, if I can call it that, linkages between Botswana, Zimbabwe, and where we are. I do think that the starting point, Nomasonto, is that there's got to be a conversation between us as a region. I think we compete necessarily even when we don't need to. So as a visitor coming into South Africa, for instance, I need to choose where I'm going to go. So if I choose Limpopo, why do I go to Limpopo? I think it's important that we answer that question, that what should draw me to Limpopo? And if what Limpopo has is also available in Zimbabwe, why should I do it in Limpopo and not in Zimbabwe? And if it's available in Botswana, why should I do it in Limpopo, not in Botswana? And we then need to say to ourselves, if we are competing for a visitor to come into one of our countries, how do we slice the piece of the cake so that somebody who comes into Botswana can actually spend 2 nights in Botswana, 2 nights in Limpopo, 2 nights in Zim? Nothing wrong with that. But among ourselves as well, how do we then start offering preferential rates of travel for the Botswana to come into South Africa, for the Zimbabweans to come into South Africa, for us to go into Zimbabwe, so that when I go to Zim, it's actually not as expensive for me as it is for a foreign national who's coming in from England. Similarly, if a Zimbabwean is coming from there to visit Limpopo, we should be able to do a bit more trade and sell to each other our various products, and I don't think we do that very well. I'll pause there.
Thank you so much, because what you raise, what you are raising is very important. We are being told that we no longer have time. So I'm going to ask my panel members to give me a final thoughts on what we have just discussed. I think the critical thing that I want them to try and answer is what the Premier asked earlier from the President that asked the question, what is stopping us? What is holding us back? We want to make Limpopo sexy again. What is holding us back? We have all these rich things. So as you give me your last thoughts and other points that you wanted to give us, just try and look at what is it that is holding us back. in order for us, for tourism to be that catalyst that creates waves, that catalyst for economic growth, that creates jobs? Mr. Matibe.
Thank you very much, moderator. I think where I'm sitting, we really just have to do business unusual, because we're not going to make a breakthrough if we do things as we used to do. So therefore, for me, there is a will. We have got a political leadership that has got a will to get things done. So we can't ask for more. So it is therefore the duty of us technocrats, of the investors, of the industry, and the whole community jigeleli to really, really put our shoulders on the wheel to get tourism back and increase. We are currently the #1 domestic destination, but we can actually even do more, because we are only servicing about 600,000 international visitors. We can double that 6.1 billion we are generating from international visitors. And I think we are all here and we can make it happen.
Thank you. Noki?
I think what's clearly emerging is the positioning of the province. We're talking about a green province, we're talking about a smart province, we're talking about a province that is alive with possibilities and opportunities. And then we're saying, what role do these sectors play, or the medium play, to actually get us to achieve that economic impact, the socio-economic impact we seek? I think it's very clear too that for investors to invest into the province, we have to have the propositions on the table. We have to have the bankable projects on the table. We have to have the required infrastructure in place. For example, when we did the Greater Kruger Strategic Spatial Development Program, there were very clear 7 financing mechanisms, opportunities that exist for the province, as well as from Mpumalanga, including protected areas financing. So for investors interested in nature-positive financing, we have the products, we have your biodiversity financing mechanisms, carbon credits we talked about, your green economy financing. So the province is poised to receive that type of investment, and it's the packaging of the projects, the experiences, the infrastructure in place that is going to be important, matching the supply and the demand from an investment perspective and from a product and market perspective, and then having that broad regional outlook, because that's the one that's going to create the multiplier effects that we seek.
Mr. Siala, please be short.
Okay, no, sure. Thanks, Program Director. I think on my side, just to summarize in 2 minutes, I think what I shared, but what is encouraging is that I was quite impressed with the Limpopo officials. I mean, starting with the old Premier, Mr. Stanley, he was very supportive, and all other government department, I'm saying there's a willingness there to listen, and that's what encourages that the province is going quite far compared to others. All I can say is that the leadership should keep it up, and all other departments. Having said what I said, I got a lot of support where people come and listen and show the willingness to support. In the parting shot, I'm saying the province should keep it up.
Thank you. Jerry, give me your final thoughts. And as you give me your final thoughts, I also want you to address the one issue which is around the cross-pollination in terms of tourism and other sectors. We didn't get to talk about that, but I did say in my opening remarks that the reasons or the purpose of travel was also, in the top 10 was also medical tourism, was MICE. But we also know that there's another opportunity in agriculture that we probably have not even started to unlock in terms of agri-tourism. So as you close from your end, Jerry, if you can just talk to that as well, and how the private sector can better work with the government in really helping in realizing our investments.
I think, Madam Moderator, I don't want to belabor the point, but I'm going to go back to the MICE issue and say that let's change our paradigm. I think for as long as we remain tied into a bricks and mortar, we are going to wait until we have built convention centers before we get the benefit that the province can get almost immediately. So on that one, I'd like to kind of maybe make an offer that if I'm happy to come and spend time with whoever it is that we can have a workshop and get into the details, because it's something that I spend a lot of time thinking about, some areas where we have ideas and we've also had successes in that particular space. The second one is the agri-tourism piece. I think agri-tourism is, again, move away from bricks and mortar. I think it's incredible what you can do once you take away the notion of we have to build things physically for us to do things. I mean, the Marula Festival for me is an interesting one. I mean, it's not quite agri in a classical sense, but what are the things that we can begin to start building onto that kind of product around that particular festival and start creating products that actually live in the tourism space? I mean, I've become a big fan of Marula Jam, as a matter of fact, but I think what are the other things that can be done in that particular space that can feed into the tourism space at this point in time? So let me start it by just saying that I can go on forever, but I make myself available to come and visit and spend time with whomsoever that needs the time to kind of explore these ideas a bit further. Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry. We cannot just keep going on and on.
We're just
Sonto,
wrapping up.
I'm sure no, sorry.
We
I
are
mean,
done.
you have taken more time when you were allocated.
We are done, Program
Yeah,
Director. We just
really.
wanted to say thanks to everybody for the
Thank you.
opportunity. Thanks, Jerry. And we just wanted to also say we realize the importance of tourism. There is obviously a lot that can be done, and the sectors, they are not living in silos. There's a cross-pollination. A lot can be done together. Government is doing a lot of work. It can be communicated, and when we work together and make it available, that will really help in driving the investment into the sector. I thank you very much. A round of applause for our panel. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I apologize. Remember what you're here to do. We are here to make a business case for the province. Right? We're here to say the province is worthy of the risk, and we're here to demonstrate that any risk that any investor takes will be matched or reciprocated by the reward that comes with investing. And where there are high risks, we have to demonstrate there are mitigating factors, ways to minimize, reduce, manage, not avoid the risk. Investors don't avoid risks, they manage them. But here you have the political will, you have the people running the province saying, we are here to listen, we are here to understand what it is that you are looking for. And on the basis of that, we can plan jointly with the investors, with the advisors, with the intermediaries. So I'm asking everybody not to take it, not to be aggravated or take umbrage when I enter. It's not to say what you're saying is not good. It's to keep converging and bring everybody back to the case that we are here to converge and make the business case for the province. Thank you very much, Sonto Ndlovu. I know you and tourism, it's your religion. So you did very well, though you had 4 powerful panel members. But let's also thank the panel members as well as the panel before that. If you remember, it was facilitated by Dr. Paulina Mamorobo from the National Automotive Association of South Africa. And the panel members there, it was the automotive industry and the investment opportunities. We also had the panel on infrastructure and logistics, facilitated by Dr. Nolwandle Mgoqi And we had before that panel number 1, which was about agriculture and agro-processing, facilitated by Deirdre Carter from Agri-Limpopo. We appreciated a lot of input from ministers, from MECs, from former premiers, intermediaries, people who are running agencies. We had the mayor here himself making the case for Polokwane, and he used the word nerve center. I like that because a nerve center is connected to the rest of the body. So it is important to understand. And the body is not Limpopo if you're an investor. I can tell you for free. We have 16 countries here. 16. So the nerve center is talking about is the nerve center for 300 million people in the Southern African Development Community. But because we are on Africa's busiest route, N1 is right here, it means you are literally on the axis that connects you from Cape to Cairo. Maybe 10 years ago it would have been a pie in the sky. Maybe 20 years ago it would have been a pipe dream. In 2024, after the signing and the inauguration of the African Continental Free Trade Area, where you already have financial and cross-border means made, where you already have apps that have been built, where you already have lending facilities from institutions like the African Development Bank that are willing to de-risk some of these investments by putting in patient capital into them, so that when you invest your own money, you're riding on the back or you're sitting on the base established by somebody who has got a longer term for them to realize their return. You have the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition that has all these agencies that even if you criticize them, are there and are in place to try to accelerate, to facilitate sector-specific, industry-specific, cross-sector. All these opportunities are pointing to one thing, that if you miss the bus, the Africa is open for business bus, you can't miss the Limpopo is open for business bus. The window won't be open forever. On the political side, on the technological side, on the economic side, every day that goes by, another country takes the opportunity from us. And that goes for the investors and the authorities and the financiers and the intermediaries, and also people like ourselves who can write and talk, who dominate the media space every day, every week. Nobody's going to tell the story of this province. And Premier, I can say this without a doubt. Alice Walker said, the way to give people power or give away your power is to believe that you don't have any. Now, I'm a native of this province. But sometimes, when I look at what my people can do to the province by not believing that it deserves the best. I'm not, when as a Johannesburg. Yes, it is not. It is Polokwane. So what? So sometimes the people who are undoing the case for Limpopo are the Limpopians themselves. So from all the sides, let's join hands. I can tell you I've seen political leaders come and go. This window provided by this political leader, this one, is one to be taken full advantage of. Because I can assure you, I know the language of an investor-friendly politician. I know their poise, I know their walk, I know their talk. And you've got it right here. So if you are in doubt, make your move. Make your move right now. Thank you very much. I'm told now we've come to the end of the program. We are going to have a networking, semi-formal, cocktail style, lounge style, dinner style, networking. That is part of the conference. All the questions you couldn't ask, all the points you felt strongly about, approach the speakers. Go and ask them questions. It's part of the conference. It's actually more productive sometimes, especially when it gets to that part where the water of truth. Premier, you might get the best free advice you'll ever get if you just find some of these people who start standing at an angle. At an angle. They will tell you, okay, just make sure security, they don't stand at this angle but at an angle, they tell you the truth that you've been longing to hear. And if you don't agree, you can always say, well, they were not quite themselves. So, is it 7 p.m. Premier? I'm only going to take your version. Okay, it's 1900 hours. The exhibition center, please. Go in there. You see this? Bows like me who don't like to wear linears around their neck. You need this to get in there. You're not going to be allowed in. So if you misplaced it, see now, I learned this at primary school. When you're going on a school trip, you got to fasten fence to you. Right, so you need this. 7, and then tomorrow we are starting at 8:50. Now that's the best time to start. 8:50, yeah, in the morning. I'll be standing here with my sermon to get you all charged up. And then we will finish before 2. And just to give you a throw forward, we have, first of all, mineral and mineral beneficiation, which will be facilitated by Mr. Yuho Pinar. And then we will have a session on the Fetahomo Tubas Industrial Park. Remember, that's one of the sponsors, facilitated by Dr. Siabonga Simai. And then we'll have another panel number 7 overall, on green energy, facilitated by Precious Mpepele. And then we will have a panel on the Musina Makado Special Economic Zone. He's a partner of this event, facilitated by Howard Bibi Khan. And then we will go to the exciting part of investment pledges. I know the Premier set one like higher than pole vault here. And I think she's managed to get that. It will be investment pledges, where we appreciate those who have made the case or seen the case and have decided to invest. Okay, Premier, could I take license and ask you if you have anything to say? No? No? Certainly? Okay. See, if I give a politician extra time, it tells you what I think of them. Okay, so, all right, she's not going to say anything. You know the exhibition center. Thank you very much. We're finished. We're done for the day. Thank you. See you tomorrow.